Hey everyone, this is FDL, and since World Championships are fast approaching, I thought I was going to feature another tournament review. This one, I think you can see the image is a little different. It's on 287 and it's recorded through the browser, so I think the image it's not the same size as the game or something. Anyway, it doesn't quite fit into the screen, but it's good enough, so we'll use that because the tournament was played on a new patch, which is great because that's the patch the World Championships are gonna be played on. Ooh, and I pulled a rat of the forest here. Okay, so that tournament was won by Hammy Striker. Here, yeah, he played Maxi, Pandev, and Carlos. Actually, I'm gonna start with Maxi. So Hammy, he only played 3 rounds. He got a bye in round 1. We'll get an extra matchup in. We get 4 different matchups in this tournament. I just scouted the games a bit. Ooh, Maxi played a lot, but here, TJ Scout. That's the round 1. It was played last Sunday, so that's October 27th. Maxi is playing, what, a 43 card Zhanna against Scout's Garth. I think Garth is a bit of a bad matchup for Zhanna, especially if he has Black Garb, and I mean, he doesn't play Cutlass anymore. When he played Cutlass, that was devastating for control builds. But I'm not exactly sure what kind of guard he's gonna play. Wizen Staff is interesting. I see a lot of Zhanna running Wizen Staff. Personally, I don't do it anymore. I prefer Glass Chalice. I think Maxi has both. Obviously, Staff allows you to get some aggressive starts like this. I'll happily trade 2 HP to get kill an opposing ally. But I don't know, I like Chalice a lot, and I like playing allies as my 4-drop, so Tainted Oracles or Elizabeth. And since most Zhanna deck have King's Pride as a win condition, both Tio and Elizabeth work well with King's Pride. Zhanna did not play anything, no allies, no nothing, so that pretty much signals a tidal wave, I guess. Maybe Aeon. Nope, he top deck in Elizabeth. Elects to deal additional damage with the staff. That's not a decision you see a lot of Zhanna player take. Garth goes for the Draw Engine, which is fine, but Zhanna is piling up the cards now. Sword Thief should work really well with Garth, but in practice his low health makes him not that dependable. Tidal Wave gets a resource from the Devoted Knight. The Devoted Knight now with what's his name? Tainted Oracle and Devoted Knight. They make a really good team to go with Tidal Wave, so you get a lot of value out of your waves. Brax is a good tech choice in this meta. Not a big fan, but a lot of people are running Haste, like Zhanna probably is, and you see Warriors with Haste too. So Zhanna doesn't have a big board control, but now she has so much control with Banish, Zelzim, and tidal wave. There are a lot of ways for her to control the board. And it's hard to play around as an opponent. I mean, if you don't swarm the board, you get picked off by banishes and Zelzims. But if you do swarm, then you give your opponent a fat, juicy tidal wave. I don't know if Max has him actually, but I'm guessing he does. Probably a split. Scout is making a nice comeback, especially in cards in hands wise. Aeon and Focused Prayer. Just Aeon. Aeon will die from Ankle Breaker and Sword Thief, thanks to Garth's ability. Little tiny mistake here from Scout. I think I talked about it in the last tournament report. But he's gonna draw for playing. And now we don't know, but if he drew, let's say, another fatty that he maybe would have preferred over Brax Veteran or Brax Soldier. Well, playing before drawing was a bit of a mistake, but it's not a big deal. So Zhanna elects to take out the Ankle Breaker with the Fleet-Footed Messenger. It's a pretty good deal when you have a tidal wave in hand. He went 3 for 2 on that turn. Garth is a pretty big hand though. Tio is good here as some kind of tidal wave insurance. But Banish is probably the best answer to Tainted Oracle. That or Lowest. Yeah, going for draw. Well, part of the draw engine is okay here. Garth's Concoction doing good work here. I mean, it's not really a Garth card because it exhausts your hero, so it doesn't really work with your ability. But with Garth's great board control, if you can use Concoction on your off turns, I mean, there aren't a lot of openings for your opponent to play an ally. Once again goes for the draw engine. This Zhanna is, well, actually both players are getting to the bottom of their decks. I don't know if Stop Thief on the Chalice. Yeah, that was my fear. Maybe he has another one, but I mean, Chalice is gonna use what, 2, at most 3 times, and he already has a Wisdom Staff out. Wasn't a big priority in my mind. Now he has to fight back from a pretty big board. Ankle Breaker, okay. Well, Stop Thief is good for a start. For Ankle Breaker, Aldon. Assassinate, Aldon. This is a point where, when you're facing a priest and you're getting low on the number of cards you have, and your opponent hasn't played all his tidal waves, you need to start taking decisions. How many threats do you deploy on the board? How many do you keep in hand, trying to bait the tidal waves? Here's gonna take a pretty good control of the board, wiping his opponent's board without committing any more resources. Lily we don't see often in Zhanna decks. Gives her an extra King's Pride or Wizened Staff for Chalice, so she's gonna be live pretty often. I still think I prefer Tio and what's her name, Elizabeth, but it's surprising for sure. So Brax was pretty much needed here, because just a single messenger would have been hard to deal with. A big Netanyas. Starting to... oh wow. No, did it? No, he didn't flip it off the Netanyas, right? Just went. Netanyas and then Aeon. We see more Nates around these days. How can Garth survive? Maybe a Stub Thief here. Yeah, well, he's gonna go for it. Force his opponent to have a tidal wave. Or haste. Or healing touch. Okay, so a couple of nice nice cards we don't see that often with Healing Touch and Lily, and even Nate in Zhanna decks. Okay, so now we're gonna jump, follow Hammy Striker, our eventual winner. Let's see how he fared. This is the worst matchup in Shadow Era, the mirror matchup. It's always weird because usually heroes counter themselves very well, so or very poorly, like Nightshades against other rogues, and so it creates a weird situations. In the case of a priest mirror, it's often a game of chicken involving tidal waves. Whoever casts the last tidal waves win. But these new priest decks, they have more ways to deal with allies, with Banish and him. Actually, we didn't see him for Maxi, but if you noticed, Striker also has a very big deck. I think it was 51 card plus his hero, or 52 plus hero. I guess Zhanna can pull it off, seeing as she has the most, she probably has the most consistency of all the heroes. She has a lot of good draw engines with a Chalice, with Staff, Tio, and Elizabeth. So those 4 cards can feel pretty much the same function. But and then she has Tidal Wave, him, and Banish as ally control, and the only thing she can't really emulate is her win condition, King's Pride. But I guess with like 3 copies and a lot of draw power, you can find King's Pride in a timely manner. I'm still not sold. I mean, I'm a big believer in the 39 card deck. Well, obviously it worked for Hammy Striker. He won that thing, losing only 1 game against in the mirror matchup. But and I see, was it BP Shadowman, who has like an 80 card Garth running at the high level in quick match. But still, I still prefer the tighter, and he's also playing Wizened Staff, the tighter 40 card decks, including the hero. I mean, even for Zhanna, you want a good opening. Even if you're a late game hero, you want a good opening, like turn 3 Devoted Knight or turn 3 Cinderek Apprentice. And the fewer cards you have, I mean, I think it's okay if you're gonna play a control deck with a lot of cards and an eventual win condition, but with fewer cards, there are chances that you hit your win condition very quickly if you get your optimal start and more often and more reliably. Here we see another pretty rare card in the form of the Last Harvest. If you don't know what it does, it's a 1-cost item that costs 3 to activate and gives +1/+1 to all your allies. So you can build a pretty buffed team, King's Pride and Harvest, but I guess this is I said King's Pride was unique, and I guess Last Harvest is Hammy Striker's response to that, and that's his the card that will bring his team to the next level. He's getting pretty low on HP here. I guess if you go Devoted Knight into Harvest, you can get a pretty good start too if you get a kill of if you kill a 4 HP opposing ally. Nobody has focused prayers. Is he gonna wave? It's a pretty decent wave here. Kills 5 very big guys. But taking away haste is pretty big here. They have fairly similar decks. Banish and Brax. Card advantage is squarely in favor of Hammy Striker. I guess he hid a tidal wave as his first resource for as a forgiveness target. I guess that's something you might consider when you're running a very big deck. You can find your win condition early, hide a King's Pride or a wave or some fatty to be found later with forgiveness. Not a big fan of forgiveness overall. It's a decent card. The only deck I really played it in was the combo Jericho, the one with Embers of the Just. Or I was trying to combo off with an infinite Holy Shield loop on an Eris. Otherwise, I mean, it's a decent card, and if you can find the openings to play it, does give you a little flexibility, but not the biggest fan. And your Striker is going all in with lethal damage on the board. I don't think the Harvest Pump was necessary because he could have saved it. You only get 3 activations off of your Harvest. Oh, he's given Maxi an opening to get a little more value out of his tidal wave. What are the odds that Maxi has another wave? Pretty low, I'd say. Find one now. Saw 4 cards this turn. And he does find it. TO kinda mitigates that, and it's an open board for a Striker. taking out your opponent's draw engine when you're ahead is a pretty good move. It's one of the ways they can come back. So Striker still has, well, not quite lethal if Zhanna heals herself. Takes out the staff. It's fine. 15 HP. He has 10 damage. That's where if he still had his, actually if he still had his, well, he's gonna get it anyway. He has 3 damage out of ALR and Aldon. Wow. It was one damage short of the kill, but if he hadn't used his last harvest without attacking a couple of turns ago, could have had the kill here. I mean, it was still pretty much a foregone conclusion that Striker had that game, but had Maxi top decked a tidal wave, it could have been relevant. Okay, so that was Zhanna on Zhanna. Sorry about my nose noises. It's the allergy season for me here. Okay, and so in the top 4 it was Hammy Striker versus Pandev. Pandev with a Victor. I scouted that game a bit, so it's a pretty standard Victor unless I missed something with Zader, Gambit, Bobcat, those kind of things. Victor is pretty good at taking out... Oh, Diplomat, we hadn't seen that one yet. It's a bit weird in a Zhanna deck, I'll say. A deck that can very easily deal with a lot of allies. Between Banish, him, and... Actually, we didn't see him, right? And Tidal Wave. So was that a decoy trap then? 2-cost trap that did not trigger off of the Opponent Knight. I saw Kilt posting a Victor deck today. In the same... I don't think Kilt is in the guild, right? Anyways. He played a decoy trap Victor. Sounds interesting. You can get a lot of tempo and some value out of your decoy traps. See how they do here. Gambit wipes the Knight, draws him a couple of cards, but the Knight, such a good card, especially for a deck that isn't gonna win early. You get to soak up some damage. Even we saw in the last 2 games, you can deal some damage with it early. That's great. And if you get nothing other than soaking up 3 HP, you still get resource out of it. The acceleration is nice, even though not really necessary, but just getting the extra resources is good enough. You can't really ramp. I mean, you're not doing it fast enough for it to be called a ramp. King's Pride here. Him, so he does have him. Him, of course, is fragile to a Legend Rises, which a lot of decks run. Pretty much every human deck can assume has a Legend Rises. But it's not that bad because Zhanna can just use it to temporarily take out an ally until she finds a tidal wave. So actually, if they use ALR and their hymned ally, well, you're gonna get the ALR with the wave too. So yeah, I was saying that I think Zhanna is slightly favored in this matchup. There are 2 control decks, but Zhanna has a better control tool. And King's Pride, I mean, obviously Victor can pretty much kill every ally with his ability, but it doesn't come around that often, and Zhanna has a better late game. Victor kind of lacks a big win condition. He wins by just expending all your threats and sneaking his guys in. Where Zhanna will, once she gets a King's Pride boosted army, I mean, game's over in a matter of turns. And Victor doesn't have that kind of damage output. But it's actually funny that Victor probably heals more than Zhanna. Zhanna will use most of her energy to draw, and but Victor will probably play Soul Seeker and get 6 to 12 points of HP back from that. I really like Spirit Warden in Victor. You can take out annoying things like undeads that bounce back to opponent's hand, or prevent Shadow Knight or Blood Pact Shaman loop. And as a 2/5, he's often gonna survive to turn 4, and if you're going second, that's all you need. You can activate your ability, get a kill of the Warden. Yeah, this isn't looking too good for the Victor, facing at least 7 attacking power, and if Zhanna has a King's Pride, this game's over. And Nathan wins the day. Okay, next round. We're already in the finals. We are. By the way, I've set up a Twitter account, so I'm now fully integrated in the internets with a YouTube account and a Twitter account. I don't even remember my handle. It's FDL_SE. And there's not a whole lot going on in the Shadow Era Twitter world these days. There's the official account, ShadowEra.net, who has an active account now. Alzarat is actually the most active player. Generic is also on there. There are a couple others who aren't super active. Sam J, what's his name? AP, the guy who runs Black Angel, I think. He's on there. Anyway, so yeah, come join us, follow us, and let's start some Twitter conversation. Alright, on to the finals. Zhanna versus Banebow. So Banebow has been getting a lot of love currently from people who rank him as tier 1, or at least the best hunter. I still think the best hunter for me is Baduru in the current meta. And I found Banebow to be rather underwhelming in Shattered Fates. Haven't really studied it that much, but I mean, I get really good results against him, and I see a couple of guys try to play, well, Undead. I guess this could be Undead Banebow, or Ravager Banebow, but you know, they get good games, and maybe it's just that people haven't really figured out how to play them yet. But in general, I'm not really worried when I see a a Banebow opposite me. I'd like to know how the Zaladar matchup goes. I guess with nobody playing Gargoyle anymore, Banebow's healing could be relevant, and there are a lot of mages popping around now that Amulet of Conjuring has become very popular. It's a pretty good opening here for the Banebow, though, getting a Wrath of the Forest out in case of tidal waves. So he gets his allies back. But yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, mages, Zaladar with cheap, squishy allies that are perfect targets for Soul Seeker. I guess Banebow's a decent call now, but I don't know, my style. And here, Shadow Knight can be annoying for Zhanna. She doesn't deal damage very fast, so if you can get a Night Loop going, and Zhanna isn't able to get permanent damage on the board, you do have a chance. But once again, I guess Banebow is kind of a main range deck, so if the game goes long, Zhanna is gonna take over with her fat King's Pride boosted allies. Is he gonna sacrifice his Krygon? Better yet, get a third ally out. Now he's just begging for a tidal wave to get a card back for his Shadow Knight. Not getting it yet. Not getting it yet, so... But, I mean, this Zhanna has so much draw power on the board that you cannot play as if your opponent did not have Tidal Wave. He had one card in hand, he saw a second from Elizabeth, and he's gonna get two more from Tainted Oracle, and he's gonna draw one for his turn and see three more from Chalice. So what was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards. And so I mean, you need to assume he's gonna run into a Tidal Wave. Decides to take the tempo loss and deal with the Wrath of the Forest. I think that's a good call for a control deck. On the other hand, yeah, at this point, well, we don't know what he has in hand, but he has a lot of stuff. So playing an ally on a turn which Banebow did not have access to his ability would have been pretty interesting too. And Banebow will only have 2 extra cards, I think. Anyways. Yeah, you're always... I think you're happy to draw a perfect shot. I mean, you're gonna see them eventually, so you want to know they're out of your opponent's deck or hand. No, so that's why, I mean, don't be afraid to run your big things into your opponent's big things. Like if they're playing Mind Control, if they're playing Perfect Shot, if they're playing I don't know what kind of removal, you need to exhaust them. I mean, you can't, if you don't play your threats, they're just gonna keep the removal. So at some point you need to come out and force your opponent to respond. Had Banebow not found a Perfect Shot, he would have been left facing a Visca for another turn. So, I mean, it's okay to check if your opponent has this removal and just count them and know that he has less and less answers to your threats. Yeah, this is a pretty big turning point in any Banebow game if you're able to stick a fatty. Even more so when it's Aeon. So yeah, he played his Visca, even got a kill off of it, then drew both Banebow's Shadow Energy and Banebow's Perfect Shot. And after that, it was wide open to play an Aeon. And Banebow stuttered for one turn, and that was the end of the game. He's fair enough. So again, I think you're pretty happy if you play a Devoted Knight. Your opponent has to devote DMT's ping and Banebow's 3 Shadow Energy to kill it, and you get a card on top of it, or resource. That's a pretty good deal if you're a control deck. Well, I guess if you're any deck. I think if Devoted Knight was playable for all humans, it would take the place of Priest of the Light in pretty much every deck Priest of the Light is played in. So yeah, Hammy Striker doesn't even care about board control. He's just opening himself up to get his Seductress traded. Just wants to draw, and as a control deck, if you're not, I mean, he's not in any immediate danger here, and even if this army of dudes attacked him 6 HP against Banebow, who has a very slow damage output, can easily live with that. I mean, if he finds a focused prayer, that's what I would play, I think. Okay, banish. Just fine. Carlos doesn't have much of a choice but to play to keep, I mean, at least 2 allies, and even 3, because he knows his opponent has some big guys like Nate and Visca and Aeon, and he always has to be able to respond to these guys. Otherwise, like we saw in the last game, he can just lose right there and right then and there if they survive a turn. And Zhanna, well, she doesn't care. She just continues drawing. And that's if you're the mid-range or the slower player against a control deck, it's a very hard situation to be in, because you know, even though your opponent doesn't seem to be doing a whole lot to advance his board state, well, he's building a hand full of counters, and you need your allies to win, and you know he's just gonna answer everything you're gonna play. This prayer, Tidal Wave. This coming. He likes to use Chalice over a Wizened Staff, which I guess is a sign that he did not have the Focused Prayer in the hand. Not the Focused Prayer, but the Tidal Wave in the hand. Otherwise, he would have drawn with Wizened Staff and played the Tidal Wave. You can... Once again, you can take that as a sign as the Banebow player, but how many allies do you want to commit? You know he's gonna see 2 cards before playing next. So odds are pretty good he finds a Tidal Wave, and how do you know he did not bluff you by not playing Tidal Wave last turn? Sometimes I like to do that as a control player. You trade, you know, 6 HP or 4 or 6 HP. Doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, and you get your opponent to play an extra card. But you have to be careful so that he doesn't play a Wrath of the Forest or something. I mean, you don't want to do it too often, but it can be a play. I mean, yeah, Wizened Staff is doing good things for him. I don't like the fact that it conflicts with Chalice, but I can't. I mean, I can't hold it against anybody who would play the staff. You do draw more than with Chalice, but finding the right card in a control deck is pretty nice. And playing a smaller deck gives you more chance to find the cards you're looking for when you use Chalice. Basically, like, I mean, from turn 3 or so, you have 30 cards or less in your deck, so you're seeing you're seeing 10% of your deck with every Chalice activation. Plus you get to draw on turn 3, which is pretty nice. And you get to draw on turn 4 before playing, if you went second, which can be relevant. Okay, well, this is Banebow's second weakness. He's not very good against board swarms. At least he has decent presence, energy, potentially a Freeing Terror. But King's Pride is basically turning all of Hammy Striker's allies into fatties, which are Banebow's weakness. Can Banebow play the Shuriken? I don't even know my cards. Could be a decent weapon for him. Now when you're Zhanna and you've taken control of the board without using a tidal wave, you're in a good position, and at this point the game is won. Loop all the knights you want. Just 20 damage board, 21 with his staff. Still gonna gets the knight out of Banebow's ability range. Rampant Kragon can come in because of Brack Soldier. This game is over, so that's another example of the control deck taking over the mid-range deck. There's a point which you just feel like the control deck's late card are so much better than. Oops, was a misclick, but the game was over anyway. Yeah, be careful now, because when you drag your hero and you have a weapon, it will attack instead of using your ability. And here Striker is a good sport and does not attack Banebow because he knows he misclicked, but that game's over anyway. He has 6 damage on the board right there. So there's a point you gotta be wary of the turning points in the game, so you can have if you're the control deck, you know, there's a point after which all your cards are better than your opponents, and if you're playing against Rush, the same thing will happen. Where the Rush will come out very fast, and it has to win. You know, it has a certain window to win, and if you're able to hold them off, like if you're playing mid-range against Rush, well, you know you're gonna be defensive at the beginning. If you're able to hold them off long enough, then your cards are better than theirs, and their cards are only good in a situation in which you have low HP and the game is short. So be aware of, I guess that's the power of mid-range decks, and that they can go, depending on the matchups, they can be the aggressor or they can be the control deck, and they're pretty good at both, whereas, you know, Rush decks completely suck at being defensive, and if you're playing a control deck and for some reason you have to be fast because you're playing a combo deck or a control deck that's even slower than you are, then you know you're in trouble, because you're never gonna get there before the other guy gets set up. Yeah, I guess some will call that the beatdown, being the beatdown. I think it's, in my mind, it's more about speed. There are matchups you want to be the fastest, and there are matchups you want to be the slowest. know when to be which, and recognize the the turning points during which your cards gain or lose value compared to your opponents. So yeah, that was it. A little pop-up with deck lock, hero lock, and Hammy Striker's Zhanna dropped only one game, and it was in a mirror match against another Zhanna. And we saw what, 4 different matchups: Zhanna Garth, Zhanna Victor, and Zhanna Banebow. So, which I think are all decks you need to be prepared for if you're gonna go into a competitive environment. So Worlds are what, a couple of weeks away from the first event. So get out there, get ready, and see you around. And join us on Twitter, FDL_SE, and iShadowera, Nazarat, and Generic, and Shadowera.net. We'll see you there. Bye.